Tonight on Turner Classic Movies, we're humming loud and proud with our primetime feature of young film composers, beginning with the premiere of the original documentary Settling the Score. Then young film composer Michael Picton scores big with a Greta Garbo melodrama called The Temptress. And then we present an encore of the TCM original documentary that looks behind the music, Settling the Score. The lights are going down, but a flicker remains on Turner Classic Movies here tonight.
You're watching Turner Classic Movies.
Hi, I'm Robert Osborne. Thanks so much for joining us. We have something very special planned for the next several hours, a festival devoted to our annual Young Film Composers Competition. For the past 5 years, we've held this contest to give aspiring composers the chance to score one of the many silent films in our TCM library, movies that we otherwise wouldn't be able to show because they have no music tracks. The results of the contest have been a resounding success with newly scored films for our library, and also launching the careers of some very talented people. In just 30 minutes, we're going to bring you the results of last year's competition, the world television premiere of the newly scored MGM drama from 1926, The Temptress, starring the amazing Greta Garbo. Before we premiere the film, though, we want to take you behind the scenes of the competition itself via a TCM original production called Settling the Score. It's a documentary that takes us step by step through the process, from the selection of last year's 5 finalists from over 600 applicants to the judging of their final submissions and the announcement of the grand prize winner. Then after that, the documentary takes us into the winner's composing room as the days tick by and the deadline for scoring the Greta Garbo film looms closer and closer. Here also with the late Elmer Bernstein in one of his last public appearances, Settling the Score.
In the silent movie era, films were usually presented with live, improvised musical accompaniment. Today, without a new original score, a silent movie would truly be silent. For the past 5 years, aspiring film composers ages 18 to 35 from around the United States have entered the Young Film Composers Competition, presented by Turner Classic Movies, Film Music Magazine, Todd Ale, and sponsored by Guitar Center. The winners go on to score a feature-length silent movie from the TCM vaults. In 2004, over 600 original music submissions were received. Through preliminary rounds of judging held in Los Angeles, 5 finalists were selected. The prize, $10,000, and the chance to create a new score for the 1926 film The Temptress, starring Greta Garbo, never before seen on television. This is the story of the 5th annual Young Film Composers Competition, Settling the Score.
My name is Jamie Hall. I'm 31 years old. I grew up just outside of Ann Arbor, Michigan, and I moved out to Seattle, Washington about 10 years ago. To pay the bills, I work for Microsoft. I'm a software developer there on the next version of Windows. So Uncle Bill keeps me paid. Film music has fascinated me since I was a child. I remember listening to scores from movies like Star Wars and Raiders of the Lost Ark. As I grew older, I found myself more interested in how that music actually fit into film rather than just being music on its own. After college, I attended a program called the Pacific Northwest Film Scoring Program, run by Hummy Man, who has scored several Hollywood films, also an orchestrator and composer. For the contest, there were 4 clips that I had to choose between, and I downloaded them all and took a look at them. And what I was looking for in the clips is something that I could catch that would distinguish myself from other entries. The scene I picked was the one where the man is strangling this woman, but he also loves her and he can't decide, does he want to kill her, does he love her, what's up with that? And I felt that there was a lot of emotion in that scene, and there were also some really cool things, like there was this big lightning strike right in the middle of it, and there were things I could really kind of mold the music around to really enhance the scene.
There was a great sense of conflict that the leading man was going through, and that there was a complexity to it. It just wasn't banging it on the head, you know, I'm angry, now I'm sad, now I'm in love. That there was a flow to it, and I thought it had a great maturity.
My name is Matt Heider. I am 34. I was born in Germany, and I currently live in Salt Lake City, Utah. I used to work for a jingle house, then started writing music for video games. And my wife and I have a puppet troupe, the Astoria Puppets Salt Lake City, which go around to libraries and schools. And I do the music, and I also do the audio for them. I started learning piano when I was 7. I didn't actually start liking it until I was about 14, 15, when I realized that they had keyboards that made other sounds, and they were easy to play, and they had blinking lights and everything. So I started getting into popular music, did the band thing. What I like about film scoring is that in 3 minutes you can go from oh no to creeped out or romantic, and then yes, you get up out of your seat and you just cheer. I wanted to do the first clip that was on the website. It was the arrival of Elena in Argentina. I decided on a fairly subdued approach where she arrives and you're not quite sure what will happen. I liked that one because it was probably not the obvious choice. I mean, it's probably a lot easier for people to score for something that's action-oriented.
I really like the way that one ended. It had this sort of whole tone thing at the very end, and it was this sort of augmented chord that was open.
What's going to happen next?
Yeah.
My name is Matthew Kaczynski. I'm 23 years old. I was born in Topeka, Kansas. I now live in New York, New York. Well, I started off in music playing violin when I was about 3 and a half. I grew up playing violin. I was concertizing by the age of 9 and started concert composition when I was 8. Then got into Juilliard. I did violin and composition for my undergraduate. And then I just finished up my master's in composition. I get a really big rush out of composing for film, especially when you first see your music with the film, with picture. It's just an amazing feeling. I picked this storm scene, and I thought that was a good scene to sort of show off what I can do, and it just seemed like a lot of fun.
Very slick and very, very much there.
What I like about it is that he or she has all this aleatoric and effective stuff, which I think actually works pretty darn well.
My name is Michael Picton. I'm 33 years old at the moment. I was born in San Diego, California, and I currently live in Brooklyn, New York. I make my entire living either writing music, arranging other people's music, or producing music, and it's usually a combination of everything. I've always, since a young age, got a real kick out of the interaction that can be achieved between music and any other form of expression that allows you to create sort of a whole that is greater than the sum of its parts. I chose the clip where this dam breaks and waters rage and somebody rescues somebody else who looks like they're about to drown. I needed to do something that I thought would grab people's attention. I approached it as I would an action cue in any other film, although with a slightly retro feel. There are certain places that you would associate with somebody like Korngold or Strauss.
It's got more pacing and more dynamic range than the others.
With the chorus coming at the end, you know. For me, that matches Let It All Hang Out right there.
My name's Cody Westheimer. I was born in Santa Barbara, California. I'm 25, and I'm currently living in Los Angeles. I started piano lessons early, but I hated it, and I quit. I started playing trumpet and other brass instruments in 5th grade. In high school, I started piano lessons again and enjoyed it. Just kind of started writing music about my freshman year in high school, and from there, I decided that's what I wanted to do, I think around my junior year, and applied to USC. And got in luckily and was part of their 4-year program in composition. After I graduated, I've just been, hitting the pavement trying to drum up work. And the films I mostly work on are pretty much indie at this point, although my most recent accomplishment was writing music for the Hellboy DVD. I have other passions and other loves, but I really can't see anything other than film music. So really for me, there's not much of a choice. I have music inside me that needs to get out, I guess, is the way I like to put it. I definitely knew the dam breaking was for me, just because I've been dabbling in action music for a while and really enjoy that type of music.
Seven is the most original one, I think. I found that I was very intrigued by the language of Seven.
To select the grand prize winner, a final panel of judges convened. In this last round, the finalists were evaluated based on newly composed scores. This time, all working from the same clip sent to them just a few weeks before.
I got the tape of the scene, and of course I immediately ran to my VCR and put it in. And my first thoughts were just, what am I going to do with this?
My initial response, I can't share with you. On the first pass, it was like, what is this? What is going on here?
It's a complicated scene. And it's a scene in which a man at a party, who's throwing a big party, stands up to deliver a toast. And we don't learn till the end of the toast that actually he's about to commit suicide.
I kept rewinding it and playing it, trying to figure out what I was going to do. And actually, in the process of doing that, I did it so many times, I think I wore the tape out. I actually jammed the tape in my VCR, and the tape got shredded.
When I first saw it, I was miserable because I had absolutely no clue how to score this thing.
And at the very end of the scene, he drinks a glass of poison and dies.
I ran it a couple of times, and a couple of things started crystallizing.
I felt actually sort of relieved in a way because it gave me an opportunity, I think, to put my best foot forward.
So we have like 3-minute scene in which he knows he's going to die at the end of it. We don't.
I was putting the final touches on the morning of the FedEx. It really got down to the wire, and I really didn't expect that. I was up all night working. I think I needed a beer at that time.
I handed the package to a FedEx man and watched it go. And I had this sort of dreadful sinking feeling.
First, you're just relieved, you've got it over with, and then, of course, after a little while, the nail biting starts.
That was my big chance, and I'm not sure that I did it right.
Writing music for a silent movie is a difficult business, substantially more difficult than writing regular dramatic film today. We'll have to see who did what and how well they did it. I think it'll be very interesting.
Great. We'll see then the 5 in order.
Is there anyone who would switch their numbers to...
All it would take is one person to change your vote.
I think this person is very talented.
It's just a little bit more seasoning as a writer.
Any of the 5 people want to change your votes?
Well, it's only one, but I'm only, I mean, you know.
It's a tough choice.
Maybe I need to see it a third time.
Now it's time to announce the winners of the 5th annual Young Film Composers Competition.
All of us can't win. I mean, one person's going to win and is going to be able to do a lot more with the film. For the rest of us, the networking could be almost as important.
We're awarding prizes to the grand prize winner and the 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th runner-up.
If I win the competition, it'll change the course of my life right now.
I'll drop everything. I'll just do this because this is probably the one thing I want to spend my life doing.
Our 4th runner-up is Matt Hyder from Salt Lake City, Utah.
I'll probably enter next year if they let me. It'll be my last year, so it's worth a shot. I mean, I'd say it'll be worth it for me to do it again.
Our 3rd runner-up is Cody Westheimer from Los Angeles, California.
I'm gonna give it another shot next year. I feel like maybe I'm a little more keyed into what they're looking for, so I definitely give it another shot.
Our 2nd runner-up is Jamie Hall from Seattle, Washington.
The only way I'm going to stop entering is if I win or if I get too old. That's the only way you're going to stop me.
And now we're down to the last 2 finalists, the top 2 young film composers in the competition. Our 1st runner-up is Matthew Kaczynski from New York, New York.
I'll, of course, enter again. I have 13 more years to enter, so hopefully in one of those years I'll hit it.
Now the moment we've all been waiting for. Our grand prize winner is Michael Picton from New York, New York.
The past 3 days have been a real joy and a real thrill. When we were taking photos earlier today, we said, you know, a certain part of me really doesn't want to know the results because we're having such a good time. The past hour or so since I won has been sort of like this, me at a loss for words, and terror as it was described to me when they're expecting to record this score that I just got the videotape for. The most immediate thing that's going to change my life in the next 3 months is that I made the decision that I'm moving to Los Angeles to really do what I've always wanted, to write music for feature films.
Contemporary movies average 45 minutes of original score. The Temptress is 104 minutes long. No dialogue, no sound effects. Michael will need to compose music for every second of the film.
After winning the competition a month ago, I decided I was going to move from New York City to Los Angeles. So I'm set up here and I'm ready to work, and the next thing I need to do is stop thinking about cardboard and start thinking about the Temptress. So we're at August the 19th, and I'm just in the midst of trying to figure out my schedule for composing the Temptress. It's pretty much 10 weeks on the dot before the first recording session. I want to reserve 2 weeks at the end to go over everything, and that'll probably mean writing 2.5 minutes of music during the course of the day, and then orchestrating that music at night. What struck me most about the film when I saw it for the first time is actually how engaging it was as a silent film without music. There are villainous villains, there are heroic heroes, there's the beautiful Temptress, of course. So that gave me a sense of relief that I don't have to make up for anything with my music. So I'm about to start work in earnest on the Temptress, and the first thing I'm going to do is do a spotting session. That is, I'm going to watch the movie from beginning to end and take notes. At the top of the film, there's a little time code readout. That's how I can keep synchronized with the film down to the very frame zang. And I want to be able to grab that moment and make the music hit at the exact moment that that knife does. The first scene was sort of easy for me to get into because it has this technical issue of an instrument on screen, what we call source music. This lute being played by this harlequin figure.
Spring in the Nights of Paris throb with love and desire. So I want this throbbing, wild dance to sweep us away as we crossfade from the Harlequin to this massive party. It's funny, for a silent movie, there are a lot of songs in the movie. So I'm just trying to work something out. I've been just working on something that, with a little guitar sound here, that I'll probably get some real guitars to play this and just get a little feeling for the time and place. And this is it, so it's sing along. Songs for loving and songs for hating, something like that. The opening scene of the Argentina section of the film, I'm up to about 4 minutes into it, which represents about 3 days' work, which is a little behind schedule, but it's good music. I'm really happy with it. And we pull away, very quiet, and it builds as this wagon comes into the foreground. Now here I'm paying homage a little bit to the style of Western score, the big brash style of, say, The Magnificent Seven by Bernstein. And then you get the real theme. And this is where Robledo goes storming out. I've been working the last week, in addition to the writing, on printing out rough scores from my computer sketches. We're up to 180 pages of score. The whole thing, all told, will probably top out over 400 pages. 2 days ago was the 4-week mark away from the first recording session for The Temptress. I had written about 52 minutes of music, and I've got another 52 to go. Within the last 2 days, I ripped through the entire wit fight scene, and so wrote pretty much about 12 minutes of music. Today I'm going to try and burn through another 10 minutes of score. It's hard going, but I push myself and I'm getting there. Sometimes you get stuck, and I've been stuck on this little scene for a few hours this morning, and because it's a silent film, the music goes nonstop, so it's all about the transitions. I just couldn't figure the way to move from one thing to another, so I gave up. I think I finally nailed it this morning. I don't know if I nailed it, I just kind of got it. It just doesn't suck now, that's all. I finished a rough version of the whole score, which gave me a lot of satisfaction. Now I have to continue programming all the synth parts, create parts for real musicians to play, record it on hard disks so they can play along with it, creating click tracks. There's still a long road to go before it's all great to play, but that's what I'm working on here. Got my coffee, drinking a lot more of this these days, and back to work. I'm thinking about the music we're going to record today. I've never written so much music for anything, ever. So even though at the end I'm sort of feeling frantic and desperate that I haven't quite finished every cue, the amount that I have done kind of occasionally blows me away. So that's it's been probably the most intense film learning experience, I think, of my life.
So we are starting with cue number 2J1.
What we're doing at Tadeo this morning is recording The Temptress. We have 6 sessions. This is my first time coming to Tadeo. I've got to say I'm really kind of blown away with how good they are. So my only notes other than, oh wow. This take on the trumpet, can I get one take?
It's a huge relief when you walk onto the scoring stage and seeing the players that are going to perform your score. That's, in a sense, the payoff.
Working in an environment like the environment here at Tadeo gives Michael an opportunity to understand what's involved in a day of scoring. It also helps him plan out a big part of his career. Writing is one thing, and actually being at the session scoring is another thing. And both have to work together to create a completely rounded composer.
Wonderful.
It's what I love so much about this competition. So many composers have to wait for years before they have this experience. It's like getting your career shot out of a cannon.
You get the opportunity to do a full-length feature film on your own terms, answering to nobody but your own creative muse, and you don't get to do that anyplace else. Okay, so we're going to jump forward and give you measure 114. This was the project that kicked the I suck mentality once and for all. It's definitely made me aware also of the places I need to grow.
Every time you record an orchestra, you learn huge amounts of lessons, not just musically, but also in dealing with people and leading a band.
Sforzando piano and then crescendo.
Right now he's working with all the musicians out on the scoring stage, and he looks like an old pro. It was unbelievable how good everything sounded.
That's it. That's it.
It's probably the most exhilarating thing in the world to hear your music with picture. You basically forget about all of the work and all of the heartache and all of the stress.
The premiere, it'll be long behind me. I'll be really happy with it, and it'll be fantastic.
Great job.
Thank you guys so much.
Hi, I'm Robert Osborne. Well, as I hope you saw in the documentary we just showed called Settling the Score, Michael Picton won TCM's 5th annual Young Film Composers Competition and earned the chance to compose an original film score for the film we have for you next. And that film is The Temptress from MGM in 1926, starring the great Greta Garbo. This was just Garbo's 2nd American film, in fact. It's a story about a Parisian beauty and the trouble she causes several men in her life. Trouble that leads to suicide, duels, and the spectacular destruction of a dam. It's a film that Garbo was very eager to make, too, because it was going to be directed by her mentor, fellow Swede Marit Stiller. Stiller and Garbo had recently come from Sweden to Hollywood together, both under contract to MGM, although it had been Stiller, not Garbo, that the studio had really wanted. Louis B. Mayer had been unimpressed by Garbo, but Stiller had insisted that if he came to Hollywood, Garbo had to be placed under contract as well, and MGM reluctantly agreed. Soon after, everybody, though, realized how special Garbo was. After being directed in her first American film by Montabelle, she was now going to be directed by her mentor, and that pleased her. Unfortunately, though, 10 days into production, there was trouble. It seems that Stiller's less than fluent command of English and a personality clash with the film's leading man, Antonio Marino, slowed down production to such an extent that Stiller was fired and replaced by director Fred Niblo. When Stiller was fired, Garbo was going to quit as well, but Stiller convinced her to stay the course, which she did. And it put her further up the ladder of success in Hollywood. And we bring you that film now, featuring a brand new music score by Michael Picton. Here from 1926, also with Lionel Barrymore in the cast, The Temptress.